Ladies and gentlemen, it's Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, newly remonetized, and Magnetic Reversal News. And it is my pleasure, with great esteem, to introduce our guest tonight, the legend, the myth, the legendary myth of legends, Matt Powers, who I call, behind the scenes, the permaculturestudent.com. How the heck are you, Matt?
Doing great. How are you? It's
I'm
been
doing
quite a
well.
couple weeks.
How
I
was your
mean,
4th
lots
of
of
July?
growing, lots of. It was epic. I got to go spend a night and a couple days on a regenerative farm locally, and got to kind of give some feedback on some insights for them, and they were able to feed me amazing food, my family amazing food. So it was epic.
Yeah, well, we had Hemp Lucid in town, and we ate all organic bison and locally sourced sirloin steaks. We also harvested our own vegetables because we have a farm here, and the greens are in. We've got spinach and kale and mustards and 50 other types of lettuces just growing wild everywhere. Not only that, thanks to you, Matt, I have a dedicated raised bed that is 1 foot by 7 foot of Matt Powers. Yes, the giant amaranth, which we're growing. And it's going to be awesome because not only do we have the amaranth, but this is the first year that our quinoa is growing. And we have green and red, which are heirloom Hopi varieties. Not only that, the red amaranth from last year, self-seeded, so that's coming back. And the Love Lies Bleeding self-seeded. So we have multiple amaranths, quinoa, ancient grains out of the tuchus. What say you?
I'd say that is the way to go. And it's those small grains that, like you said, are reseeding, that are leaning into the right direction. When we have our systems spread for us, when we have our soil grow deeper and richer every year, we're in the right direction. And that's kind of where everyone's seeking, right? Everyone's searching for those secrets, those answers. And how do you grow food? How do you grow soil? And that's why we're here today.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to dive deep into soil, Matt. And if you're listening for the first time, check out the permaculturestudent.com and buy Matt's course. Not only that, if you need a job, he'll employ you and you can sell his course. And I think you can make like half the money. It's that ridiculous. And that because Matt's a generous dude. He's a permaculturalist. He's trying to share the love. It's all about abundance. Abundance for you, abundance for the neighbors, and most importantly, abundance for us.
Absolutely. Because these skills are really life skills. And so that's why I feel like we just got to keep pushing it forward and sharing it with as many people as possible. That's why the course books that everything's based on, I give away as free ebooks. You can join my mailing list and see tons of free videos. It's all about making sure that we know how to live on the earth because the most basic truth, the most basic instructions are never given in public education. We're never, I mean, we're not told the way the world really works, right? The way business works, the way politics works in school, but neither are we told the way food works, the way nature works, the way we're supposed to work as humans, how to live on this planet. So that's what we teach. And if you want to learn more about that, visit thepermaculturestudent.com. But today we're going to be talking about soil and dust. So stick around for this. Yeah, it's really important to recognize that the microbiology in the soil that we're talking about when we're talking about healthy soil is a mirror to to its twin, which is actually in our digestion. And it's the biology in our digestion that releases the nutrition that we actually use to build and heal our bodies and regenerate ourselves. And it's the biology in the soil food web, all the different life in the soil food web that are actually releasing the nutrition that plants eat. So we're in this twin relationship. This is just the basics of biology, the basics of living on this planet, and we have to recognize. And more people are recognizing it. More people are heading in this direction and understanding that we are what we eat, but we are also, what's under our feet, right? It's also the soil. We're fed by the soil. The soil is our future bodies. So if we don't start with the soil, if we try to run too fast and we try to grow on poor soil, try to raise animals on poor soil, we're going to end up with sick animals, sick plants, low yields, and it's going to be, trying to drive up a steep hill with a weak, front-wheel drive engine. You're not going to ever make it up. You're just going to get stuck, and then you have to go backwards, and always dangerous. So I always believe in using
Matt,
plants, and it works.
I said, unfortunately, I was muted during my diatribe. So a lot of people might not know where you're coming from in what you just said. But we're about to transition into it. And I'd like you to go on a long diatribe about this picture, which we're all looking at. So I was talking about the fact that the food we eat is directly related to our nutrition and therefore our health. Because our immune systems need dozens and dozens of micronutrients available to perform at peak potential, and humans, millions of humans are not getting those micronutrients. But if you're a permaculturalist and a permaculture farmer, even a permaculture style organic farmer, biodynamic farmer, what you're going to get is the micronutrients in your soils you need, because the rock dust and the mycorrhiza work in a symphony of beauty and scientific endeavor to break down those nutrients and stuff them right up the plant's roots, which in turn gives you the most nutrient-dense vegetables and greens that you could possibly eat, keeping you in peak performance. Now, the reason I bring this up, Matt, is because I'm just singing to the choir here. You know what I'm saying. But I want the audience to look at this picture. The left side is the terra preta, and the right side is clay-rich oxisol. These are the two soils in the Amazon rainforest, predominantly. And recent archaeological discoveries have shown that this terra preta is man-made, and that there are millions of hectares of this soil, which is human-created and possibly was created upwards of 4,000 years ago. And not only that, there were over 50 million people living in the Amazon rainforest as recently as 500 or 600 years ago, which all died off due to smallpox. And this is being hidden from the public. It's trying to be revealed by some, but it will not hit mainstream for decades. But the important thing is this soil, this community of tens of millions were growing food successfully only because of the terra preta, which has microbiology that is unexplainable. And now you can buy it. It's called EM, and I'm really stoked to put it on my garden. Now you get to go.
Yeah, this history is like what we were talking about before we started recording. There are ancient technologies. There are ancient civilizations that were lost, traditions that were lost that we couldn't recognize from the cultural perspective that we had at the time as we encountered them. And one of those things that people have discovered is that terra preta, which is biochar, fish bones, human manure, organic matter, and pottery shards, these things are combining in such a way in these pits. They are composting, they're breaking down in such a way that they are turning their organic matter into resilient soil. So soil that doesn't wash away with the rain, soil that isn't just depleted instantly. It's hardy tropical soil. And the secret, as you alluded to, researchers went down there from Japan, I believe, and they brought back this consortium, and they were working with all these different microbes from that area, and it's this consortium that Kwadamakvia was telling me about. He is a Bokashi and EM expert. He's one of the first people in North America to be trained in how to make EM. He's been making EM for over 20 years now, I believe. And so he has the most unbelievable EM, and he's always just adding to it. He's always just feeding it, and it's been alive for over a decade. I think 2 decades. It's the same brew. And so he takes that, and so this is something that was extracted from those terra preta soils, this EM, these effective microbes, which you can buy, and then at home scale it right on up with equal parts, 1 part EM, 1 part molasses, 20 parts water. You seal it up for 2 to 3 weeks, and you wait for the pH to drop, I believe, to 3.4 pH. It's in my book. It's free. You can go look it up. But the idea is that you're creating this anaerobic situation, this high, it's acidic. It's an acidic pH. But what happens is you have all these processes start to take place, and they start feeding each other, releasing CO2, releasing oxygen, and going back and forth again and again and again. And that's why they do it usually in containers that can handle pressure or that flux. So you can have balloons inflating or not, or deflating. And so this life, and it's just simple thing. We're talking about the basic consortium of EM is yeast, purple non-sulfur bacteria, which is found in the guts of earthworms, and lactic acid bacteria, which is lab, which is, you probably know a famous one, lactobacillus. You know what I mean? We take that as a probiotic. So these things aren't scary. They're not like, they're edible. They're all edible. You know what I mean? You can eat that earthworm. So these things are all edible. They're all things that are around us. And if we just start using them wisely, we start having them in our gardens, in our waste, really. For instance, let's take that EM, for example. What are they doing with it in these older cultures? Well, these latrines stink, right? They stink. Just like sometimes, perhaps, maybe our chicken coop stinks. Maybe because you're not letting the birds around, you just have them in a stationary place right now. Maybe it's winter. I don't know. Not here to judge. It stinks. But if you get some biochar mixed in there, that'll help. But what's even more powerful to add on top of that, because it'll bond with the biochar, is EM. So you would get one of those spray bottles, you put the EM in the bottom thing, click, click, and you move it to like how many ounces per bottle, and you're just watering it in. Or if you hyper-concentrated super problem, you can water it down maybe 1 to 2 parts or something like that, and water it in. And what's going to happen immediately is the smell's going to go away. And you're going to be like, that was magic. What the heck just happened from a chemistry perspective? And a lot of people will say, oh, those things are gone now. But if you do your research, you'll find that they're following another pathway. So instead of doing that hot compost where everything's burning up and you missed the turn, oh no, it got too hot. And it's like you're breathing ammonia and you're like, instead of that, this is actually fermenting those and turning them into amino acids that are immediately plant available. So the idea, you go back here, you think about the retention of nutrients. These facultative microbes means they can be anaerobic or aerobic. They have the faculty, right, to go either way. They're retaining the nutrients in the soil and keeping everything in the soil food bank. And that's what we see in terra preta. And so you could be doing that with your compost. You could be doing that, bokashi, when you have EM inoculated on biological, like organic waste, right? It actually can be used to break down bone, meat, dairy, all the things that we're told, like, never put that in the compost or the vermicompost. Oh no, spicy things or citrus, the worms don't like that. Bokashi. But that just really means organic matter, in Japanese. So it's fermented organic matter with EM, is what it really is. So we can all do this. This isn't rocket science. It's not scary. It's stuff that you've been eating, been around you, playing with our whole lives. And we suddenly can trap all those nutrients. We can deal, and everyone wants to turn their compost. I respect that. But not everyone wants the aching back, right? So if you have a compost heap and you're using EM on it, first of all, the temperature is going to drop. You're not going to get to those high temperatures because the nitrogen is the thing that makes the heat. They're all going to be fermented. So it won't ever get past 129, 131 at max Fahrenheit. And so you're going to have to turn it less. So you have less work. You've retained the value of the nutrients. You've kept them in the soil. You're keeping them on your landscape. Let's say you have a humanure issue. Well, if you're constantly using EM like they were in the Amazon, mixing or carbonaceous materials with it at the same time, bonding your carbon to nitrogen, and then using EM on top of that, well, you're going to make beautiful soil out of that humanure. You're going to be able to control pathogens. You're going to be able to stop it from being a crazy, stinky, insane thing, and you're going to be able to really deal with things in a way that kind of just brings down all the concerns, the fears, the anxieties, and you can just start with one simple bottle, and then you can start scaling it up with the molasses and water in time. And, if you have a bad batch or something like that, I don't know how you would do that. I mean, it's an anaerobic process. It's kind of like you're making it go bad in order for it to be good. You can just go and buy some more. And you know what I mean? It's really not that big of a deal. This stuff is incredible. And I've seen people drink it. Literally, I'm not saying drink it. I'm not a doctor. I don't recommend this. But I've literally seen people drink it, and then I've talked to them later that year, and they've been alive and well, happy. You know what I mean? So then there's actually EM Gold. There's people that are actually, there's medical products with EM in it. There's even soaps and stuff. So this is stuff that's not like scary. It's super scientific. It's not woo-woo. And it's also, on top of all of that, it's ancient. It ties into something that's in our biology that we respond to. I mean, we see it in the water, we see it in the soil, and we see it in our bodies, that there's this harmony that comes. And it's an ancient technology, I believe. Just like so many things in permaculture that we talk about are really practices that have been practiced by humans for so long, and they're indigenous, they're ancient, and we've been, so I really value you coming at it from this angle, because this is like a return to home, and also as scientific as you want to get.
Yeah, and this is what's amazing is that I think the most amazing thing is that I talk about cycles on the channel, cycles of weather, cycles of civilization, and this is a cycle. We're now regaining knowledge about this EM, microbial inoculant, that was being used thousands of years ago in the Brazilian rainforest. And not only that, it's affordable. You can literally buy this 1 quart here for $35 in our Amazon store, and you can do what you just said. You're actually going to be using this concentrate. See, it's concentrated. You use the concentrate to make more EM1. And all you do is take a cap full of this and you put it in the right percentage, add molasses and thyme, and then you just spray it on all your beds. And what you're going to create are soils that, if you even have clay-rich soils, are going to be organic. And it's because of the microbiology that's doing this. They've actually studied the terra preta in the Brazilian rainforest, and their conclusion was that none of this microbiology currently exists outside of where the terra preta is. It's almost an unexplainable thing. But you and I know it's not unexplainable. They were slow roasting trees, making slow roasted charcoal. Then they were keeping it moist, and they were smoldering it and fermenting it. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were composting their trash, and the end result was growing more food for tens of millions of people, just like you can do at home.
Yeah, there's a great book called Dirt, Erosion of Civilizations by Professor David Montgomery. He's over at University of Washington. I've had the privilege of interviewing him about all this. And our story for the past 10,000 years has been this destruction of the soil and then fleeing that area to a new area and being like, wow, your soil's great, conquer you, I need your soil now. And then we go to the next place and we do it over and over again. And terra preta stands boldly in contradiction to that story. And so does the Australian Aboriginal records and even some of the records that we have of early time periods when we were first encountering the Australian Aboriginal systems and cultures. So we have these examples, but they have not been taught to us. They have not been shared with us. And in fact, today, it's almost like they're tolerated, right? They're not promoted actively on any of these systems. They're not promoted in the media. They're not promoted in agriculture, gardening, even though it's like this multi-toolkit of solutions. But it's still there. And that's why I talk about it so much. I share it with everyone I meet because in Cuauhtemoc makes it for free for like people everywhere he goes, because it's so crazy once you start using it. You're like, oh, what were they doing before? It seems kind of like you know, you're running around the house 4 times before you turn the faucet on. You're like, well, the house winded up. It's like, are you kidding? It's like it just feels like we're doing things unnecessarily when we don't have much time to be just wasting around, just like fooling around. And we could just be making this our culture. We could be doing what the Amazonians did, which is literally their neighborhoods are all doing it together. They're getting together. They're hanging out. They're brewing EM together. They're putting in gardens in each other's backyards, or they're throwing a party, doing a burn pit, doing the pig in there, then throwing the bones in there, and having it turn into their latrine for a little while, and then, you know what I mean? And then it becomes their mulch pit again, and then they hit it with EM, and then cover it with like wood chips and move on. And you know what I mean? Like those kinds of simple neighborhood manageable things, if they suddenly became weekend tradition, it's like Saturday night, let's fry up another thing, let's cook some of the fresh vegetables, let's do this, let's, you know, there's going to be those holes full of rich soil, 6 feet deep, 4 feet deep, in everyone's backyard, and suddenly they're not going to have any space, and it's going to look like that everywhere for all those neighborhoods. And, you know, and that's what happened, is that their culture was, let's get together, throw a party, have some food, we're going to be burning some stuff, it's going to look really cool, we're going to tell some stories, and they probably, you know, had other forms of entertainment. I mean, this is the culture of ayahuasca, right? And so they had all this richness, all this meaning and ritual and tradition, you know, and family tied up in this. And that's what we need to do. And that's what many of us want. We want the good food. We want that neighborliness again. We want that can-do, like, help each other out, I barter for this. Oh, you got that, I'll borrow that, I'll trade you that, we'll share this. And that kind of interdependence that just is like makes you feel like, yeah, it's going to be fine. We get stuff done in our community. That kind of thing that, you know, we like we're led to believe was like actually happening in some areas, but it's like, where? It's like we can build that, but it really starts with the soil. I mean, you got to build from the ground up. That's the truth. And what we've been doing for 10,000 years in the Western culture story is that we haven't been doing this culturally. And the number one missing component is we thought that it was just dirt, that there was fertile dirt and there was not fertile dirt. And then later on, we believed that fertile dirt was, NPK. You know what I mean? These certain minerals that made things grow. Because in a lab with just those three things, we had something grow. That's like, you know what I mean? It's like just because you do something doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. You know what I mean? I can give tons of awful metaphors for, getting results the wrong way. But it really starts.
Can I jump in, Matt? We have a sick.
Jump in.
Yeah, we have a sick, nutrient deficient culture that is devoid of critical thinking. We've lost ancient skills that are clearly have been around for millennia. We're looking at soils that could be up to 4,000 years old, that fed tens of millions. That the Europeans came in, the Spanish particularly, were the first to cross South America in about 1400 or 15. It was about 1500, and they spread smallpox. And the cities that they claimed were here with tens of millions, bigger than London, were nowhere to be found a few hundred years later when we went back because they were all missing. They've been covered by the jungle. The information has been covered. It's been hidden because we know it's the truth. Now, can you imagine if our society and our culture took all of the food scraps and food waste and grass clippings and put them in a communal pit and sprayed a little EM on it and showed the community how to grow food? Can you imagine the abundance that would be worldwide with the billions of people that we have that could be taught these techniques? Billions of people could be making enough food for 30 times what they need. And then we would have 30 times the abundance that anyone could ever use. And then we could recycle it into more biochar and more terra preta and feed even more. We could feed other planets. It's that simple. People aren't catching on, but they need to. And you know why, Matt? Because it is the coldest and wettest January through June on record ever in recorded history since 1880 in North America. That's not good. The spike is so low. Take a look at here. The only other year in the last 8 decades was back here and back here. And so we're talking 1911, a similar 6 months, and back in 79. But this year was the coldest and wettest in the first 6 months of 2019, which is why the crops are going to be the crappiest and most devoid of nutrition, because you know how that water flushes everything away. And people will be picking it up. They will be picking it up slowly, which is why we're putting down these small pieces of information. It's simple. It's simple to turn your lawn into a garden. It's simple. There are ancient techniques we were just learning that you literally just spray some tea on the ground, that you literally can make 50 gallons for $30 and literally have the most biodynamic soil instantly. Sheet mulch on top of that, start throwing down some seeds, and you have permaculture in your backyard. We're all going to need to do this to survive and thrive in the coming times. The weather's changing. I don't care what you call it. Just don't call it global warming when it's the coldest, wettest year in the last 100 years. You need an explanation for that. But I want to finish up tonight, Matt. I have a lot to do. It's a pleasure to have you. We've talked about so much interesting stuff. We talked about ancient information that we're now gaining, and we're talking about abundance and growing food on your own. How can you inspire these people to take the next step?
I suggest everyone, and I'll put a link and I'll share this, down below. But I suggest everyone take the Your Best Garden course. It's a free course I have. It's 3 videos long. Goes through all this in depth. You get to understand the how, the why. Really just dives in and gives you everything you need. So you want to get started today on the best food possible. Get to the museum. Hop on the course. Get a real clear understanding in a short couple hours of time, 100% free. Learn what's real, what you can do and how you can create an abundance and a security for yourself of seeds. Not just that you have like fresh food, but that you have fresh food forever, you know? So check that out. I will put a link of that down below.
Yeah, and it's almost criminal, Matt, that only 194 people have watched your video on pollinating squash by hand. Because pollinating squash by hand guarantees more squash. Hello? And so we need you to come out here and to
many of
look
us
at,
don't have.
yeah, come down to the Permaculture Student Online K through 12 and play all. Watch all these videos. If you're a beginner, learn how to grow greens, learn how to pollinate squash, learn about sorghum. If you don't know what that is, that makes sugar and grain, and you can feed animals with it, and it's really tall. It's a windbreak. It's amazing. It actually takes nitrogen out of the air, just like other ancient grains do. They do not deplete the soil like wheat, barley, and other crap that you all eat in your crappy GMO cereal that you buy in the inside of the center of the box where all the food is poison. We're talking about grains that you can mash and have multiple sources. You can eat the sprouts, you can eat the greens, you can eat the grains, you can sprout them, you can mash them, you can grind them and dry them, you can make flour. On and on. These are techniques that people used to know, that we need to know, and you better learn, and you better start now. And start at Matt's channel right here. It's free. It's free. And then when you become advanced, you can buy the course. And then when you become poor, you can sell it and make money. I mean, it's on and on. It's a collective. I got butter. I need your goat milk. Let's trade.
Heck yeah. It's the future.
Okay.
Love it. Thank you
Parting
so much.
words, Matthew.
Get going. Get started now. We're losing daylight. You know, I mean, the season's been cold so far. Just wait till the winter comes. It's like plant those seeds down, get those greenhouses in now, get your soil building now. Start having all that waste that's going out, start turning into value and invest it into your local area in your future. Thank you.
Yeah, and more importantly, build soils. Get the EM, save up, spend $30. You can turn crap into gold, and that's a beginning. Then learn how to compost. You need to know about temperatures of compost. If you want to kill weed seeds, you got to get it above 140 for at least a few days. But like Matt was saying, you can do all this microbiology then at a lower temperature with less turning with the EM. If you got stuff that stinks, you can spray it on it and let the microbes take care of it. Nature takes care of itself. We're trying to tell you that everything you need is outside. So stop watching YouTube and go outside already. We love each and every one of you. Learn to grow food and watch Matt's channel. And that's a boom. Thank you, Matt. We love you.
Thank you. That was great. I love it.